A shoot shall come out from the stock of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. His delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his ears see, his eyes see, or decide by what his ears hear. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt around his waist, and faithfulness the belt around his loins. The wolf shall live with the lamb, the leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The nursing child shall play over the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put its hand on the adder's den. They will not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, but the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. On that day the root of Jesse shall stand as a signal to the peoples. The nations shall inquire of him, and the dwelling shall be glorious.
So some of you may or may not know that this is the Sunday in Advent of Peace. And I have found that depending on where you look, you can find different labels for the different Sundays in Advent. There might not be like a central place where this is the Sunday. Sometimes the Sundays of peace, hope, and love get mixed around. So today, we're going to celebrate the Sunday of Peace. It's probably one of my favorite Advent Sundays, because it reminds me of one of the first visits I had to Tracy's parents' house. This was when they were living back in Fairmont, Minnesota, out on the farmhouse. And if I remember correctly, I think I was in seminary still, and I have no idea how long we were dating. I'm sure we were back for a holiday for some reason to visit. And I remember not too much about the visit, exactly what we were back for, what the conversations were around the table. But I do remember an odd-shaped dining room table, which they still have, and rolling chairs for a kitchen dining room table, which I always thought was kind of funny. But I also remember an ornament she had up on a shelf. And it was a small globe, maybe 2 or 3 inches tall, and there was a puzzle piece glued to it. I thought, that's kind of weird. So at one point, I asked Tracy, I said, what in the world is that globe with the puzzle piece glued to it? And she said, well, every year they would ask their dad, Jerry, what he wanted for Christmas. And he would say, peace on earth is what he wanted for Christmas. So one year, her and her sister glued a puzzle piece on the globe and said, here's peace on earth, Jerry. And you thought I was the one with the dad jokes. Tracy's dad jokes go way back. But wouldn't it be nice if we all had peace on earth, right? Wouldn't it be nice if we could go a week without fighting with a significant other or a family member or a co-worker or a friend? Or wouldn't it be nice to be able to go on a family vacation without hearing, are we there yet? Or I have to go potty every half hour? Or why don't we stop here? Or I don't like the snacks that I have planned. Well, we did manage a 10-day vacation without any real blow-up, so we could check that off. But wouldn't it be nice if we could have peace amongst family, friends, or coworkers, to maybe have peace in our own hearts? If we didn't get mad at ourselves so easily, or we didn't treat ourselves so harshly, or if we didn't have to worry about our stomachs being upset, or worried about something else, or what we need to get next for the holiday season, or what else we have to cross off our list. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just have peace a few days before, or maybe a few days after Christmas, when we're not short of money or short of time, and we could just sit and relax all of the work that we've done for this Christmas season? Wouldn't it be nice if we could just experience a little bit of peace? Our family is doing quasi-daily Advent reading. And one of the questions we had in the last week was about the Prince of Peace. The first question was easy. It's who was the Prince of Peace? We pretty much got that one right. We said it was Jesus. But then the questions got a little tougher, asking, what does it mean for the Prince of Peace, for us, that Jesus is the Prince of Peace? What does it mean? And we were a little stumped with those questions. The teenager had given up and rolled his eyes about his back, as far back in his head as he could, and checked out. I couldn't even come up with a decent answer, probably, and Tracy was reading the questions, so that exempted her from having to answer them. The 10-year-old took a few stabs at what it meant and probably got fairly close. But I wondered, what does it mean to us that Jesus is the Prince of Peace? What does it mean that we celebrate this Advent Sunday, the coming of the Prince of Peace, when he was born? What does that mean for our lives? And how, maybe, can we experience some of that peace? I know deep inside myself, probably deep inside almost everyone, there's a longing for peace. We always have a sense of the way things should be, and we know they're not the way things are. Well, Isaiah, who wrote that scripture verses that Elizabeth read this morning, also had that longing for a sense of peace. He lived a long time ago. He lived in a time when the Jewish nation had been fighting for years. First they'd fight the Assyrians and the Egyptians, then the Assyrians again, and then the Egyptians again. Pretty much generations had grown up knowing, and all they knew was fighting and war. And Isaiah was tired of it. He was tired of the fighting. He longed for peace. He knew there was a better way. He knew that humans had been made for peace, that God had created us in God's image, and that we were meant to be peaceful people, to live amongst each other in peace. It wasn't God's intention that we hurt each other. It wasn't God's intention that we would fight with each other. It wasn't God's intentions for mothers or fathers or sons or daughters or husbands or wives, co-workers, blacks, whites, Arabs, Israelites, Russians, Americans, Muslims, Christians, anybody to be at war with anybody. But we happen to mess that up when we do. Peace seems a long way off. But Isaiah knew that we were made in the image of God, that we're like God, and that we're made for peace. And that every time we fight or every time we don't have peace with ourselves or with neighbors or with friends or with family, we don't like it. Because deep down we know that's not the way things are really supposed to be. We've been made in the image of God, and we have a way to be peaceful. So Isaiah, the prophet, was tired of the 40 years or so of fighting. And sometimes I get tired of not experiencing that same kind of peace. And I wonder, how does that experience my life? How do I find that peace? Well, Isaiah had the secret recipe, if you will. He knew what we needed to do to experience that peace. And he told his contemporaries, that's the prophecy we get, but they didn't listen. The Prince of Peace came so many years ago in that first manger, also giving us a recipe of peace, and we don't always listen very well. But I want to share with you that first secret recipe that Isaiah had on how to experience peace. And it's a short recipe. The first thing is you need to be filled with the Spirit. A person needs to be filled with the Spirit of the Prince of Peace. That means you have to have that Spirit alive in you, full and vibrant. Isaiah says that the Messiah would be given a spirit of wisdom and understanding, a spirit of insight and inner strength. And that very spirit of that compassionate, loving God lives in each one of us. This is the most important ingredient to peace. We must feed that relationship with God. Is it growing or is it dying? There really is no middle ground. If you want to experience more peace in your life, then this is the number one ingredient in that recipe. That spirit of the Prince of Peace must be alive inside of you. Are you working to be a more peaceful person? Without this, none of the other ingredients even matter. The second thing is that righteousness must flow through you. Now, righteousness is a big seminary word that has a big meaning, but really it boils down to right relationships. Do you treat others with gentleness, with kindness, with forgiveness? Righteousness, right relationships always consist of a healthy dose of forgiveness. You can't have peace without forgiveness. The Spirit of the Prince of Peace living in us helps us work towards righteousness in all relationships. You can't have peace in the home, in the school, in the office, in the factory, in the nation. You can't have it without righteousness. Right relationships among people. Among the people who live in the families, or live in the families, the schools, the offices. So that Prince of Peace inside of you should compel you to seek. And not just the relationships that you like. Not just the relationships with the people that you can hang out with and not want to strangle. Maybe more importantly, those relationships where you can't stand that next person. What are you doing to help make that a righteous relationship? What are you doing to help make that a peaceful relationship? What can you do? The third part of that recipe is mean you must work for justice. Now, that seems like a big term. But you can't have peace without justice. Fairness, equity. If there is no justice, there is no peace. The thing about justice is it always involves work. Are you working? Are you doing something to help the less fortunate amongst and around you? You can't just sit around and hope justice happens. It's something you have to work towards. And it's the same as peace in your lives too. Are you working towards it? Are you building a relationship with the Prince of Peace? Are you working on a relationship with others around you? Are you working on justice? Making the world a better place for somebody? This all sounds like great things. It probably sounds too good to be true, but if peace is truly going to happen, it has to start with us. It has to start with you. No, we're not going to solve the big problems here in the next few weeks and maybe the next few years. But what we can do is make a difference in our own lives and the lives around us. And the more of us that do that, the more peace we'll experience. But the trouble is we want to take a shortcut. We'd like peace to just fall in our laps. We'd like justice just to happen. We don't really want to work for it. I know I like shortcuts. But shortcuts don't work. Think if you want to be a great basketball player, or if sports aren't your thing, you want to be a great musician, or you want to be great at something. What does it take to be great at anything? It takes practice, right? You have to work at it to actually be good at something. You got to spend time shooting, dribbling, getting in shape. If you want to play basketball, you got to spend time practicing your instrument over and over and over again. You could try shortcuts. I suppose you could watch all kinds of videos on how to be a good basketball player. You could watch all kinds of videos on how to play your instrument well, or watch videos of great musicians playing. But if you don't put the time and the effort and the practice in, nothing's going to happen. You can have the very best equipment, you can have everything you need, but if you're not willing to put the time in and the effort, you know you won't be great at it. The same is with God's peace. It takes a little work on our part. And all three ingredients are absolutely essential. That relationship with the Prince of Peace, that righteousness or right relationships, and that working towards justice. Are you helping someone or some people that aren't as fortunate as you experience that justice? And there are no shortcuts. The angels in the Christmas story said, "Peace on earth, goodwill towards all people with whom God is well pleased." The angels didn't say peace on earth to everyone. Peace on earth to those with whom God is well pleased. Meaning is the people who are doing the work, are they working towards peace? Are they putting in the effort to experience peace? Do you long for peace? Do you long for peace in your family, or in your job, or in your workplace? Do you long for peace in yourself? Peace is something that can't actually happen, but it's something you've got to give time and you have to work at it. Peace can happen in your lives, but you must be willing to put some of that effort in. Build a relationship with Jesus, work on the relationships with others, and then seek ways to help those who are less fortunate. Peace will happen.